here today to talk about the Community Leadership Council, and I have with me Dave Smith, the Chief Executive of Sunderland Council. Dave, over the last 3 years the Council has had to save £100 million. It was a huge task, and one which you managed to do despite having record levels of customer service, customer satisfaction, and also levels of trust within the organisation. How on earth did you manage to do it?
Yes, I think in essence it was about building up the level of confidence in the organisation that we could take hold of our own destiny, even in an environment of reduced resources, having to meet this reduction of £100 million, that actually the solutions rested with us. So people both had to understand what the plan would be to achieve those goals, but also believe in them. That mixture of both belief and also the intellectual capacity to understand how we're going to do it stage by stage was incredibly important to mobilise the organisation. I think moving from that to action then was all about doing this from the basis of a well-managed, decent and measured approach to change within the organisation. So taking everybody with us, elected members, the staff, the trade unions, so that we felt we were working together towards common goals. It didn't make the goals any easier, but what it did mean is that people felt involved in the process and felt that they could make a contribution at whatever level they were working in the organisation. Committing to the dual objectives of improving our services and through those improvements saving the £100 million was what really motivated people.
So your new challenge, and it's not one of your choosing, is to find a further £100 million over the next 3 years. And again, protecting services as best you can, but you can't use the same ways, the same methodology as you did for the last 3 years. So how are you going to do that?
Well, first of all, by explaining to the organisation what remains the same as also what will be different. So we set out and I've lived by our values of being proud, decent and together. And we've established an understanding of what that means in practice, in the way that we behave as an organisation, what we can expect of each other in this process. They are immutable. They are not going to change because the context and the environment's changed. So everybody can judge themselves and each other on the basis of those values.
So we're calling the strategy the Community Leadership Council. How will the city feel different moving forward? What will change within the city?
The Community Leadership Council is first and foremost about defining who the council is and what we exist to do. So what we're really saying under the heading of a Community Leadership Council is that the council's principal responsibility, its reason for being, is to enable the city to realise its potential. So working with our partners, with our communities, and critically with the elected members, to bring out the best in the city and to ensure that, however, by whatever means, the city can be as good as it can be in the context that we're all living in. Providing that leadership in the city means supporting and enabling the city to achieve its goals. It means understanding the city well. It means understanding the needs of the city well and prioritising within those needs. It means engaging the city and its communities about how best to solve those problems, and then evaluating whether it's made the difference that we would all want to see. And that sort of leadership within the community is key to the role of the City Council.
It sounds like the role of council will change within the Community Leadership Council. It sounds like their role will be more high profile. Is that right?
It absolutely is. The one unique role of a public service delivered locally is the fact that we have this thing called elected members, elected by their communities to represent their interests and to make decisions collectively about how to improve the city. That's what elected members are elected to do. Translating that into practice in the era we're now living in means that those elected members need to not only represent the interests of those communities, but be able to discern from those interests what all partners, including the City Council, can do to best meet those interests and those needs within the resources that are available to all of us.
So do you think the communities themselves and residents in the city will notice any differences?
I hope so. I mean, that's certainly the intention. Just as much over the last 3 years, our communities have noticed the difference in the way that we've improved our services. We hope over the next 3 years, as we move into the Community Leadership Council model, that what communities will experience is elected members and officers of the council and partners working more closely with communities to find solutions together to the problems that we identify and want to address. It critically means that about understanding the assets within our community and the assets within our partners, as well as the assets within the council, and how those can be better deployed and more effectively deployed and work together to provide the solutions to the challenges we face.
So does the Community Leadership Council expect more of its communities and the individuals and the residents within those communities?
There's going to be more expected of them, but particularly in the way that we behave together. So the expectations are rising in terms of how we work together to achieve common goals and common aims. And that's the critical difference that I believe everybody will expect. We fully anticipate that public services that we deliver today will still be being delivered in 3 years' time. How they're being delivered may change. The contributions that our communities make, the contributions that our partners make, and the contributions that the council make will change. But what will be different will be how that's joined together, rather than whether or not public services will be delivered.
And what does a Community Leadership Council mean to the employees? How will their roles change? How will the council feel different to them?
It will be more of the changes that we've been introducing over the last couple of years. So our expectations are on our employees is that we will work differently as individuals, as teams, as an organisation. So services will be delivered through the staff that are currently employed by the council, but those employees will be working in different ways. So, for example, we're already achieving much of this through our responsive local services. So all our street scene services that a few years ago were delivered in a particular way are still being delivered, but the staff who are now delivering those services are working in a different way with local people in local communities, working with local members to meet local need. And those staff would tell you that they're achieving the same goals they always were, but they feel much more part of their community in delivering those street scene services.
So you think there'll be different delivery models? For instance, Sunderland Live spun off from the council to create a third-party company delivering events for the city, and that seems to be going very well. So moving forward, we might find different models of service springing up. Absolutely.
So, for example, if you look at our care and support services within the adult social care agenda, they're moving out into a different model of delivery. The staff and the management of those services will still be delivering those services, but they'll be working within an organisational framework that's different from the one that they have now. But it will mean for the employees that not only will they continue to deliver services to the community, but they will have a greater say and a greater role in how those services are being delivered. So they bring their expertise not only to working with their clients, but also bring their expertise in to influence how the organisation that's called Care and Support delivers those services to people.
So in a way, it's a reinvigoration of local democracy. People are going to feel more engaged with the City Council and probably the city itself.
Yeah, absolutely, both as employees, as consumers of those services, as elected members who have overall responsibility, that interaction will create more innovation, will create more solutions to challenging problems, even though the financial envelope is being more and more restricted in the process.
We know the resource is going to be reduced further, and it's more important than ever before to get decisions right first time and to get the right services in the right place at the right time. To do that, you're going to need more information, more intelligence, better data gathering, more evidence. How are you going to collate that information? What form will that take?
We have invested a great deal of money in the development of our technology, working with IBM. So, as many people know, we've established the very first private city cloud in the UK. And we did that for two reasons. One is for internal reasons, because it helped us save money. And secondly, and most importantly for the longer term, it also provides us with the core technology we need to gather and use information and evidence and intelligence about how our communities work. For a long time, we've relied on very broad generalisations about how people in Sunderland live, work and play. And based around those generalisations, we've designed and delivered services. What the technology allows us to do is to gather information both from within the council and also from with our partners to look at how actually in real time people live, move around the city, work and enjoy their leisure time, so that we can understand how public services can more effectively and more efficiently meet their public social needs. That's a key to making the right interventions for the right results at the right price. And that's part of our future.
And some of that information will come from partners. I'm just wondering how the relationship across the city, obviously the council at the moment works with a whole range of different partners in different degrees and stakeholders as well. Will the council feel any different to those partners? And again, are we expecting more from the partners themselves?
We are certainly expecting more from the partners and different from the partners. And actually their experience of the council will change, because we will be seeking ways of working with those partners to both help them understand what needs to change and help them develop their belief and their conviction that the direction of change is both in the city's interests and indeed in their organisational interests. So whether we're working with statutory partners or the community sector or the voluntary sector, that we're able to convince them that it's the right thing to do, and it's to both their benefit and to the benefit, of course, to the communities of Sunderland to work with us in that change. So their experience of how we have done it as an organisation, as a council, will help convince them that it is a workable solution and from which they can gain.
I heard you say recently that we're in a state of flux, a state of constant change, and that's not going to be any different moving forward. So I'm presuming that after these 3 years, you can't say for definite that's the end of it.
I would say the opposite. I'd say for definite it's going to continue to change. I think it's incredibly important that both our staff, our elected members and our partners and our communities understand that this process of change is going to carry on indefinitely, and there is no point that we can foresee where this is going to stop. So let's not deny that. Let's understand it. Let's continue to take control of it as much as we can ourselves, so that we shape our destiny as much as we can as a set of partners, as a city, as a community. And the more that we do that, the more that the solutions will come out of this will suit Sunderland and be in Sunderland's interests. And I think as long as we do that, we will come out with the optimum solutions through discussion, through engagement, through supporting each other. We will find the right ways through this, even though the direction we're going in is not of our choosing. We can get hold of it and make it ours and make it work for us.
So you're at the end of a successful 3 years when you've managed to save the £100 million, as well as protecting services, as well as winning an award from the Municipal Journal for the services that you provide. But the next task is huge, to save a further £100 million over the next 3 years, and again protecting services as best you can. Can you do it?
Yes, we can. We absolutely can.